podcast, the show that meets you where you are and gives you what you ask for. Tonight, we're going deeper than isn't just a deception. It's about survival, trauma, identity, and the dangerous truths we hide even from ourselves. But now it's time to do the actual work. That's right. Alongside that groundbreaking psychological thriller, we're introducing The Habitual Liar Workbook. And it's a series. It's called Cracks in the Surface, Strengths in the Core, Not Easily Broken. And it's designed to help you process your pain, explore the moments that shaped you, and reclaim the power of your own story. So here's what's coming. There are three workbooks: From Shattered to Shifted, a guided journey to healing and purpose; Our Own Shift, Trauma to Triumph; and Purpose Driven Power and Shifted into Power. So grab your workbook, grab your truth, and get ready. This isn't just another episode. This is your invitation to break the habit and start healing. So let's get into it. But before we dive in, I am honored to bring in the voices who will help guide this journey. Joining me on this powerful panel are individuals who will be walking this healing path with courage, authenticity, and purpose. So you guys would introduce yourself. I am so grateful to have you here. We can start with Farron.
Hey,
Hello, everybody. I am author Farron McLemore. Thank you so much for having me, Black Diamond. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you, and to be a part of this is so rewarding for me. So I am a 2025 Distinguished Authors Guild Ambassador, 2024 Distinguished Authors Guild Award recipient, nominee. I'm a community advocate, a motivational speaker. Through my book and my brand, I champion for people with disabilities. I inspire self love, and I love to encourage others to embrace their differences and to love who they see in the mirror.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you introducing yourself. Next, Shayna.
hey everybody. I am the author of the book The Prettiest Woman. I am also a Distinguished Authors Guild ambassador. Thank you, Black Diamond, for having me. Thank you, Dr. Carolyn, for getting me all together. Just being out here to be able to promote myself. And I'm also a Distinguished Authors Guild 2024 award winner. So I'm just excited to be here, excited to be connecting with all these beautiful authors and ready to get started. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, Tony, you up.
Yes, hello everyone. I am author Tony Bunyan. I am the author of Breaking Cycle, The Power of My Testimony. Also, I am the founder and owner of Breaking Cycle LLC, which I go and speak to the youth and I inspire them with my story, with my testimony, but also inspire them and encourage them to build their own relationship with God, because that's the only reason why I made it this far, through His grace and mercy. I'm so thrilled to be a part of this panel tonight. Looking forward to a great conversation. And I am also ambassador, 2025 ambassador, and I am also an 2020 award from American the Guild. Thank you, Ms. Gina. I know she's probably watching in. Thank you, Ms. Gina and team. And most recently, I'm an international award recipient as well. So I'm looking forward to receiving that award this summer, coming up in June. So again, I'm thrilled to be a part of this panel, and I can't wait till we jump right into it. Thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, we have author Nicole. Introduce yourself. Okay, we can come up with Miss Bobby Strutton.
Hi, good evening,
Introduce
everybody.
yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bobby Stretchin, a first time author and also a 2024 DAG Award winner. I am just honored to be among such literary giants. I know a lot of people on the screen tonight have just made such an impact in my life. I'm honored to be here. I'm also getting ready to do my second book, and it's entitled A Testimony That Started a Fire. Stay tuned. Keep your eyes on me. There's some good things coming up. I'm also the CEO of my own nonprofit, Just for Me
Okay,
Wellness. We discuss a lot of health issues. Thank you for having me.
thank you. And we have leadership coach and author Rachel. Rachel, you want to introduce yourself? Okay, we have a little technical difficulty with her. Mr. B.G. Howard, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, and thank you. First of all, first and foremost, I'd like to thank my newly appointed friend, Mrs. Black Diamond, for having me as a part of this panel. I am deeply honored. But my name is B.G. Howard, and I am a two-time uh, DAG Distinguished Authors Guild Award recipient for 2023 and 2024 in the fiction category. We've had some experiences, I should say, and I enjoy the association with Miss Black Diamond, and I'm looking forward to this platform as she's unveiling something anew in the effort to try and help
All right
individuals
now.
overcome their struggles.
Well, we didn't get a chance to with us is both clinical and spiritual insight. I want to introduce someone whose presence speaks to both the science of healing and the soul of it. Dr. Carolyn Stephens is not only a mental health therapist, she is a truth teller. Dr. Stephens, thank you for walking with us tonight. The mic is yours.
All right, well, I'm going to just jump in here and introduce myself. I am Dr. Carolyn Stevens, and thank you so much, uh, Black Diamond, for allowing me to be here. I'm so honored to be amongst my colleagues here on tonight. Again, I am a mental health therapist serving the Atlanta, Georgia area. I'm also a certified family support specialist. I'm a licensed Christian therapist. Along with that, I too am an author and I am a publishing consultant. I am a 2022 and 2024 Distinguished Authors Guild Award recipient. And so I am super, super honored to be here on tonight with Black Diamond. It was a pleasure. It has been a pleasure, and I'm still just basking in the journey of working with her with unfolding this platform. And I want to say good evening to all those who would come on. I would advise you to go and grab a friend and tell them that you need to be on this broadcast on tonight, because I believe that over the time that we are going to be here, this is going to be an extraordinary journey of healing for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. When I asked these individuals to be a part of it, no one hesitated. And I thank you so much for that. So right now I want you to take a breath and get still. Because this journey isn't just about listening. It's about leaning in. This workbook, Cracks in the Surface, Strength in the Core, Not Easily Broken, isn't just a companion to the habitual liar. It's a mirror, a moment, a movement. And the first activity that we started with this panel is referring to the steps that they outlined on page 13 of this book. Which of those steps did you find most important or helpful in your journey towards healing? Now, these are the steps that you wrote for yourself. So, which one of your steps, anyone can answer at any time, did you find most helpful in your journey towards healing?
I was
I can go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. I was just gonna say, for me, it was the actual start because in order to get anywhere, you have to start from somewhere. even if you don't know who you are. And it's a matter of identifying that person or that individual you see in the mirror. That to me is the most significant portion. It's like when you go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, you first have to acknowledge, admit that you are an alcoholic and you need help. So my first step was the first step.
Most of the time, people say that the first step is always the hardest step, but you
Oh yes,
guys know it.
oh yes.
And,
How
and
about you, Shayna? What was your first step? I'm sorry, Tony. What was your first step like?
I was gonna say I agree, but for me, what kind of helped me the healing process was talking about it, not holding it in. You know, being able to express my feelings, not being able not holding it in. As a man, you know, that's something I've been working on because you know when we hold things in, it comes out at some point in time. Sometimes the wrong time. So
Yes.
I believe in by me expressing myself, being transparent, you know, with my friends, with my community. It helped me with the healing process. So being, you know, just being transparent, being real. Most people can relate with the real, and God didn't allow me to go through what I went through, just for me to keep it all in. My testimony can bless somebody else and maybe even prevent them from going through what I had to experience. So I would say talking about it.
I'm so glad that you said that because you have, well, history has had it said that men won't share. But I've been coming across men who have been sharing their testimonies and as well as sharing their truths. So I appreciate you both for being on this panel and for sharing and being so transparent with it as well. How
Yes.
about Farron? How about you? What was your first steps like?
You know what? I would have to kind of piggyback off of BG and author Tony. And the biggest thing for me is the start. I think I find myself being so strong for everyone else around me that I sort of lost sight of what I actually needed. So I think the biggest part for me was the start process, and then finding someone that you're comfortable, that support system, not only that will hear you out, but who's somebody who's also able to provide that feedback, that leaves you after you have that conversation feeling like you can start the healing process, because I just feel you can't talk to everybody about certain things, especially personal things. You want to speak to the right person when it comes to that. So I think I have to agree with the start, and then just finding someone that you can talk to and share. I know for me, it took me a very long time to be comfortable with sharing, but now that I have started sharing, it's definitely helpful, and it definitely has helped me in my healing process.
I want to know how will any one of you can answer this one? How will you personally measure your progress on this journey from your most important or help that helped you in your journey towards healing? Is it through a greater sense of peace, more clarity, or stronger boundaries, or is it something else entirely?
If I
Because we
might,
all measure our progress differently.
I think for me, it would definitely be
Yes, Shayna.
I was gonna say, I think for me, it would definitely be the sense of peace, the when my jaws don't clench when I'm talking about it, or when I'm not nervous about the conversations and like what emotions it'll bring out.
Anyone else? And to our listeners also, whatever it looks like for you, write it down, put it on paper. Just speak life into it. Anyone else that want to share what and how they personally measure their progress on this journey?
if I might, Miss Diamond, I before I actually met you, one of the things that it's been a journey for 20 plus years now. Um, One of the things that I had to do, I took a period, I pulled away. I mean, I stopped going out, I stopped hanging out, I stopped doing any other. I went to church on Sunday and I came home and I started keeping a daily journal. I think I started journaling about the last part of 2007. But I keep a daily journal, and one of the things that I had to do, as you know, many of the panelists said, I had to be transparent with myself. I had to be totally honest with that man in the mirror, and I broke me down, tore me apart, and I reassembled me piece by piece. Everything I didn't like, I changed, and everything I couldn't change, I had to come to terms with it.
That is so profound. There are times, even when I'm just doing any kind of work, in order for me to understand it, and that's the way I did for myself, I had to take it apart and put it back together. And sometimes I feel like I have to take myself apart and put myself back together in order to get a grip and to be able to understand who I am and where I'm going and where I'm headed. Does anybody else feel that way or they want to share?
I would like to say this
So
is
we're
my.
not just, go
Uh,
ahead.
I would like to say that in my first start, I didn't necessarily find an ear to listen to me, but I did find a deeper revelation that the one who made me was always with me. I didn't make myself, he made me, and that was God. And so a lot of the trauma that I had when I couldn't say it out loud, he was there and he helped me to see me like he saw me. And it kept me from turning my head away from all of the trauma that happened in my childhood because I was still a child when it came to that place of starting. I could be with God and understand that this happened to me. It wasn't a dream and it's not a lie. And it gave validation. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not what I'm hearing. And that gave me a start that whether anybody else would validate the trauma, the reason behind it, it wasn't necessary anymore. I knew the truth and I knew that I had a God who was with me even when there was not one other human being who would validate it. And I started with him.
We're not just here flipping pages, we're shifting perspectives, and we're going to keep it going. Dr. Stephens, what would you say about some of these people, some of our panelists, and the way that they're getting their start and how, what their perspectives is on this?
Well, what I would say is that I've sat here. I certainly have enjoyed listening to um, the different perspectives that I have heard, um, and we're talking about when I work with a client. This part of the journey is what I like to call it. Is one of the most challenging parts of the journey, and that is to identify that there is something going on with me, that there is something wrong, there's something not right, whatever category a person would like to put it in. That is the most tedious part of the healing journey, is to be able to have the courage to do the self reflection, and then to have the courage to be able to identify that there is something that is going on with me. And believe it or not, sometimes people ask me, well, if you're a therapist and if people come to you, don't they already know that what's going on with them? The answer to that is not entirely. When most people come to me uh, as a client, they don't know what to call it. They don't know what name to put on it, but they know that at this particular point of their life, that they see themselves somewhere else, but they're not where they see themselves, and they are not functioning in the capacity that they hope to function in. So I would say to the panel that I certainly enjoy the introspection that I've heard so far, because that is certainly true that we all must be daring and courageous enough to be able to do the self reflection, which is mentioned here in the workbook, to be able to identify the areas in what, the areas that we need the most work in. I think that that is the most courageous perspective to have. I did want to piggyback just for a quick second on what Ambassador Tony said, something that he said, and he did quickly mention that for men, sometimes that part of it is a more tedious process to be able to identify, to be able to admit that there are some things that may not be going well. And I certainly can thank him for saying that because, and so what I want to say to that for those who are listening is that we live in a society where we don't always make it easy for men to disclose. I do not believe that it is because men do not want to disclose or that men don't have anything to say. I personally believe that men have a lot to say and that they want to disclose, but as a society and as a sub society, meaning within our community, sometimes we have not made it easy for men to disclose or to share or to communicate. And so that's why I particularly love this idea about the panel and what we're doing because we're having those necessary conversations that need to be had so that we can begin to build safe spaces so that we can say, hey, I'm not okay because it's okay to not be okay. So that's my perspective so far.
Very much.
Thank you so much. I also want to thank Latanya and Jasmine, Dee Dee and Jasmine Coleman, and Aliza for participating and coming and listening to our journey. And this is our journey. We're going to work together to recognize our inner strength through self awareness, to process emotional challenges with mindfulness and reflection. We're going to build real, lasting resilience, something that can last us. Cultivate compassion for ourselves, even in our hardest moments. And we're going to grow, not perfectly, but intentionally. So let's begin at the very beginning with you. As you reflect on your past experiences and personal growth, as outlined on page 14, what stands out most in your journey so far? Take a moment and ask yourself, what brought you here? Was it pain, survival, the hope for something different, or something more? If you haven't already, write a short note to yourself. Be honest, be gentle, let it be messy if it needs to be. This note will serve as your anchor throughout the next 6 months. So, what brought you here to this panel, to this discussion?
So I'll start. So for me, and I'm just going to read my response if that's okay.
Yes,
So
it's fine.
in my need to always be strong, I've always held it together for everyone else, children, family, community, even when I was breaking inside. The crack whispered, "Who holds me while I'm holding everybody else together?" So, in my self sacrifice, giving so much of myself to others, there was crack in my own self care, my identity beyond what I do for others. The question became, where do I exist just for me?
Mhm.
These cracks don't define my weakness, they define my depth. They are not things to be ashamed of, but places where I'm being stretched, growing, and learning to be whole. So just kind of piggyback, and I've always been that go-to person, and as I said before, my passion is to uplift and inspire, but at the same time, and even those strong people need that support as well. And I realize how much I am the go-to person, which I love that because that's my passion, but at the same time, I lacked my own self-care. So what I have done recently is, for one, just be able to identify that, like Dr. Stevens mentioned, and I really had to break down, what does self-care look like for me? What does that look like for me? Because I know some people may consider a self day as a spa day. I realize for me, it's quiet time for me. It's the quiet time that helps me reset, that gives me that peace. So me being here is just learning how to have that self care in the process of also still being strong, not only for myself but for those around me.
Thank you so much for sharing. We have Latanya who said, that's my situation as well. I'm everything for everyone except myself. We want you to give yourself time. And one of the things that I've done for myself was I parented myself. And in doing so, I was able to realize that I was parented by a beautiful person. But for me, I look at it now and I look back at myself as a child, and I have this huge picture in one of my rooms. And my family asked me, why don't I hang it on the wall? Because it should not be on the wall. That's a child. And I'm taking that child through a journey that I want to take her on, that I want to parent her through. You know, my mom did what she felt as though she needed to do by me and for me. But when I look in the eyes of myself, I see something that somebody else don't see. I see a sadness that was there that maybe nobody else recognized. But as I look back at myself, I say, yeah, I see you. I see the hurt. It was always there, but nobody knew it but me. So while I'm doing this, I apologize to myself every day. Every day I go past that picture. And it reminds me of who I was, who I am, and where I'm headed. And it makes me feel so good when I leave the house, and I feel especially good when I come back because I see it. To some extent, I feel like she's grinning, like she's smiling, like she's saying, "You're taking care of me in the way that I wanted to be taken care of." And not to say that my mother didn't do her best, but I'm a parent now, and I know how I parented. So I just wish I had some of that for me. So that's the way that I look at it, and for me, and for anybody else, to self care, like Farron said, it's so very important. Cheryl says thanks for sharing, and she also says congratulations and amen. Um, not Dee Dee says you are so right, author Farron. The strong need someone to lean on too. I am that same way. You guys are touching people's hearts in just so many ways. Does anybody else want to share? Was it pain, survival, or the hope of something different or something more?
I would like to
What
share,
you have?
if possible.
Yes, please.
Yes. I would say what brought me to the panel was definitely piggybacking a little bit off of what Farron said and what Dr. Stevens said, was understanding that I was the go-to, and that during my whole life I've been the
Mhm.
go-to. I've been the one who's strong, the one who looks through situations and helps everyone else stand up. And for years, it took me time to really, as you said, have the conversation with myself, sit down with myself. And what I did for years is just journal. I journaled it all out, and I thought that it was the ability to get that off my chest, and for lack of better words, and that it was allowing me to be okay. When I realized that I wasn't okay was when I noticed that no one was showing up for me. And it taught me to understand self-care in a more impactful way, to teach people how to treat me. And that started with me learning how to treat myself. So having that revelation that I had taught people that
Yes.
I was the strong one. I had taught people that I didn't need to be comforted. I had taught people to treat me the way that they were treating me. So when I had the revelation that it was now time to have clear boundaries and take self-care to a different level of not just of taking the time for myself, but also to re-teach and start educating people on who I am. And now I'm not just a strong person. I'm a person who has the ability to soak up a little bit more than others, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to be taken care of and that I don't want to people to check on me. And this week, and
Exactly.
it's ironic that we're here together. This week, I had two situations that really showed that I actually have taught people how to treat me. And if you guys don't mind me sharing, I'll make it brief. Um, I went to a store.
Yes, you can.
I went to the store on Tuesday, and I was in the store having a conversation. I am a leadership coach, and I have inspiration that pours from me all the time. I'm always in a very happy place. Now, I want to put that word out there now. And I was in a store with a young lady, and she was having a hard time, so we were talking. My son and I were on the phone. I told him I'll call him back. An hour and a half later, I was still talking to the lady. So my son and my daughter
Mm,
checked the yellow page, well, checked online to find the name of the store because my phone is on do not disturb from 2 to 4 p.m. That's the time where I reflect on things in my life. So that's another form of self-care for me. But the issue was that they were calling me and couldn't get through. And so they called the store looking for me and asked the lady, has she seen me? So that showed me that I have taught other people how to actually
beautiful.
treat me and so that I need assistance as well. So that situation was just it really allowed me to understand that yes, I was broken. I understand that I was broken. And that's to me takes the courage. And each of us here today, I applaud us for stepping up and saying that we were broken. The hardest thing, as Tony said, is the hardest thing, and it's not just for men, it's
Yes.
for all people in general that will not say, I'm hurt. I need help. I need guidance. I need a moment. And that's what made me come to the panel because I just really believe that if I can share a bit of my story and it helps another individual find success, we all win.
Absolutely.
Man.
Yes, 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 we do. We have Latanya who says, I deal with abandonment issues and I'm learning to love the little girl that never received love. Dr. Stevens, talk to us. How do we begin doing this work from a place of truth and care?
That's a very profound question, and I have to say that I have, again, I have enjoyed the comments that I have heard. Um, I've listened attentively, and I've heard quite a few people, starting with Farron, make reference to self care. And I want us to continue to utilize that term. I want to give you another term to go along with self care, and that is self preservation. Because sometimes what happens is
Mm,
when we use the term self care, somebody might say, well, that's in a bubble bath, that's me having a glass of wine, some candles, and actually doing something. And those things can be good tools to utilize. But I just wanted to add to it to begin to look at it as self preservation, that it is important for me to keep me. Most of us sometimes, and I'm going to say
mm,
this, especially women, that we do a very good job at being continuously being very maternal and very nurturing in preserving the life of other people. um, we start our journey off in motherhood before that child even comes into the world by preserving a child within our wombs. So we're accustomed to doing that. Okay, then when that child is born, we're trying to preserve their life. We're trying to preserve them from the dangers of the world. So what I'm presenting to all of us is that we start to look at preserving ourselves, to keeping me here for the long haul, and we start looking at self-care in that manner, in preserving ourselves, and in preserving in self-preservation, in preserving yourself. That may mean that there are things, there are ideologies, behaviors, relationships, there may be things from the
mm.
past that has traumatized us, that we have to work through processes to begin to let those things go, because they're now affecting our self-preservation. And in order for us to preserve ourselves, there's certain things that we've got to be able we've got to be able to let go. So I did love the fact that most of us, even in our audience tonight, that we're beginning to identify. One of the things that I've heard is that we have what we call the superwoman complex, or it could be the superman complex. Is that I have to spend my life taking care of other people, and we can do that so long. And I want to add something about that, taking care of other people. That can sound like a very noble thing,
And I,
Well,
and I,
I
and
have
I
to
have
be
to brag.
strong for my
I on the
family. I need to be
podcast tonight with some amazing
strong
people.
for my
I
wife.
hope
I
you
need to
guys
be
are
strong
checking
for
it
my
out.
husband.
And it's
Um, that,
Black After Dark.
that kind of
This is an
thing.
amazing
But
conversation. I want to let you guys listen in a little
we
bit.
need to
You know,
first and
it is a
foremost
conversation that's
we need to
necessary.
show up
So,
for ourselves.
time back in.
Oh, I hear some other people talking. I don't know what that is. Do I hear someone else talking? Okay, I want to
Somebody
make sure
please
I'm
mute
okay.
themselves because
So,
Doctor.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
okay,
Please go
I
ahead.
think so. I want us to definitely take away from this that we need to be on a journey of preserving ourselves, to be dedicated to giving ourselves long life. But what I was going to say was is that because a lot of times in our journey, because of toxic life experiences, because of trauma and other things that we've gone through, that when we always say, I had to be strong for other people, and this is not to negate the fact that we have had to be strong for other people, but sometimes we continue to live there because it takes the attention off tending to ourselves. And I'll say that again. Sometimes we continue to live there because it takes the attention off of the fact that we need to take care of ourselves. And then we can go into a place where we allow that to be a part of our narrative. And subconsciously, we begin to believe that it is selfish to take care of self. It is not selfish to take
Yes.
care of self. If there are five important people in your life, with those are maybe your children, it could be your parents, could be a wife, a husband, what have you, in order for you to continue to properly do that, you have got to take care of yourself. You have got to tend to yourself. You have got to preserve yourself in order to properly do that. And I'll leave this last tip before I'm quiet here on this is that sometimes we need to send out the memo to our community of people that love us and we love them. And we need to not be afraid and to tell those people in our lives, in our circle, hey, this is me. And I want to tell you that I need to take some time to take care of me. And I'd like for you to support me while I'm on that journey so that I can come back and be a better dad, a better man, a better woman, a better a sister. We need to start to give people that memo and tell those people that I need, and make sure we say need. Don't be afraid to say what you need. I need, because people tell you all day what they need. Don't be afraid to tell people, communicate, this is what I need and this is what I will need from you. I need you to support me in my journey of self-preservation and self-healing to keep me accountable because I need to be a better person.
Man.
Amen.
I
Amen.
love that. Love that.
I hope that you all were listening. As our listeners take their first brave step writing down why they're here and setting personal goals, how can they hold space for both the pain of their past and the hope for their future? Dr. Stevens?
I'm not sure, Miss Diamond, who are you addressing next?
I'm addressing you, Dr. Stevens. As our listeners take
Okay,
their
so
first brave step writing down why they're here
mhm.
and setting their personal goals, how can they hold space for both the pain of their past and the hope for their future?
That is a very deep and profound question.
That question is
Yes,
for you, Dr. Stevens.
that's a very deep and profound question because sometimes we are afraid to confront our past. So here's something I'll drop here with all of us as we leave this space for us to think about. You can't heal what you're not willing to confront. And I'll say that one more time. You cannot heal what you're not willing to confront. I think that Ambassador Bobby worked in the medical field, so she probably would understand this concept a far cry better than I could. If somebody comes into the hospital and they've got a scar, a deep scar, or they've got a broken limb or something like that, that nurse, that doctor is going to have to tend to that. I've heard stories where they had to sometimes re-break the leg or something like that.
Mm,
But and quite naturally, some people would say, no, I'm not going to address that. But do you really want to heal? So there are instances where we want to heal that we do need to confront some things from the past. I'm not suggesting that we live there and we take up residence there, but there are certain things in our past that is causing us pain in our future. And so we do need
mm,
to confront certain things in our past so that we're able to forgive ourselves, so that we're able to forgive those people that may have been responsible or caused the trauma. So there are things in our past that we need to not necessarily live in, but we need to address it so that we can continue to move on forward in our future, because sometimes we get stuck, and we are stuck because there are past experiences that still have us stuck. And so in order to get unstuck, we have to confront pain and say, yes, it did happen to me. We identify that this did happen to me, but I'm no longer a victim to you. Okay, I
Absolutely.
am going to be free of this thing. And so that's what I mean when I say you cannot heal anything that you're not willing to confront.
Well,
Yes.
mm.
if I could piggyback on Dr. Stevens' comment, one of the things I think probably the most important thing that I was able to do, um, I had to learn how to embrace the pain. And as she said, you can't deal with it unless you first acknowledge it. And for a long time, I lived in denial.
Strategies,
My
tools that will help you not only understand your story, but reshape it.
yes, yes, and like I said, for a long time, I lived in denial. I didn't. My case was a little more unique. I lost my memory, so I had to reconstruct who I was as an individual without knowing my past.
Mm.
And so I was at the mercy of everyone else because everybody who knew me had a different version of who I was, and that was doubly complicated because I didn't know I didn't have a foundation. I didn't know where to start, and that was probably the most challenging aspect. The first, oh gosh, probably the first 10, 12 years beyond my accident, I had no idea where I was or who I was.
And if I can piggyback a little bit on what BJ just said, I mean, what BJ just said, I think sometimes, and this is just my opinion, as I said, I only speak can only speak from my sphere, that sometimes we do revisit the past, and we are looking for closure of that event, and when we don't get that closure, we hold on to that.
Mm,
And this is just what I've done personally, and I'm going to, as I said, I can't speak for other people, and I just say how I deal with things. I didn't get closure from situations that have caused me pain in the past. What I did from that is I forgive them and I forgive me, and I have left it where it is. I'm not looking for them to accept or say they were right or wrong. I don't have to be right or wrong. I have just accepted the pain of the situation, and have learned to move on. And I think that sometimes is the hardest thing, is that we're looking for to close that door. We're looking for an event, a person, a situation to close something for us. When to me, I acknowledge that it happened. I reached out to the individuals in those situations that I wanted closure in, and they weren't ready to close. And everyone must find that closure on their own time. And for me, I forgive them for not being willing to take on the trauma in their lives. I accept the trauma in my life and have learned how to deal with it, how to move past it, and have the momentum to move forward to the next best version of me. So I think that that's something that I think has to be said, that sometimes you're not going to get closer from another individual, and that not getting that closer from that other individual is okay. Like Dr. Stevens said, we don't. It's okay to not be okay, and sometimes that person is not at a place
Right.
in their life where they can accept that they hurt another individual. So
Mm,
I accept my pain is being real. So that's the first thing. I accept that it's real and that no one can tell me that it is or is not, it, or did not happen to me. So what I have done and learned to do is that it's okay that you don't accept it. I accept that it happened. I've gotten over it. I Now I say forgiving somebody does not mean I forget, and forgiving someone does not mean that I want them in my life. Forgiving for me means, and this is just as I said, I'm just speaking for myself.
Exactly.
Forgiving for me means that I forgive the situation and that it no longer has any power in my current life.
mm.
So that's
Yeah,
how I
I've
deal with
always
it.
been taught.
that is very that is very
I've always been
profound to
taught
say that.
that
That
power is
and
not.
Rachel, I want to say that that's very profound. Very profound. No, I'm sorry, Ms. Diamond, but I had to jump in and say
Yeah.
that's very profound what she said. That is.
Let me add this.
Can you
Uh,
guys hear me?
I can
We
I
can
can hear
hear you
Yes,
you.
now.
we
I
can.
can
I can
hear
hear
you
you
now.
now.
Can you hear me?
I can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I've been out. I don't know what's been going on. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. Now that you've all reflected on what brought you here, let's take one step further. This journey isn't just about making it through. It's about growing through, healing, stretching, evolving, and showing up for yourself in new ways. But to do that, you need clarity. You need intention. So here's your next step. Write a note to yourself, something honest, something true. Let it come from the version of you that's ready to grow, to rise, and to reclaim your voice. This letter is a promise to yourself from yourself. Now it's that time to go even deeper. You set 3 personal goals for this journey, goals that speak directly to the parts of you that are ready for change. What areas of your life are asking for healing, strength, or transformation? Be specific, be courageous. These are goals that will guide you through the next 6 months like a compass pointing towards your truth.
Mm.
Listen for you by anyone else. Maybe it's making peace with your past. Maybe it's learning to trust, to set boundaries, to set boundaries, rest without whatever they are, write them down. Tell me how you know you're growing. Is it feeling more grounded in your day? Is it pausing before
And Dr. Black, one of my let me add one of my personal goals.
you? Be brave, be ready. So here's an affirmation for you to repeat after me. I want everybody to repeat this. I honor where I have been.
I honor where I have been.
I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. I'm going.
We missed that part.
It's kind of breaking up a little bit.
And I
Yes,
give
ma'am.
myself permission to grow
And I give.
at my pace.
I heard. I
I
give.
am becoming.
I am
I
becoming.
am not broken.
You might have to repeat
I
that.
am becoming.
I am not broken. I am
I
becoming.
asked everybody to repeat an affirmation, and the affirmation began with I honor where I have been.
I honor where
I
I have
I
honor
been.
where I
trust
have been.
where I'm going.
I
Wherever
trust
you
where I'm
go,
going.
I trust where I'm going.
I
I
And I
trust
trust.
where.
give myself permission
And I give myself
And I
and I
give
give
permission
myself
myself
permission
permission
Give myself
to grow
to grow
to
to grow.
grow
at my own pace.
at
at
my
my
own
own
pace,
pace,
at my own pace,
In my own way.
in my
in
own
my
my
way.
own way.
my own way.
I am not broken.
I am
I
I
am
not
am
broke.
not
broken.
I am
broke.
not broken.
I am becoming.
I am becoming.
I
Coming.
am becoming.
I am becoming.
So sit with that, let it settle. And when you're ready, meet me on pages 16 and 17. We still got work to do, people. Family, we're even here. We're doing more healing to claim. Dr. Stevens, now that our panelists and our listeners have taken the time to write down their personal goals and think about how they'll measure their growth in addition to affirming, can you speak to some of the importance of setting emotional and spiritual goals, not just external ones?
Certainly. Well, it is important to set emotional goals, spiritual goals, physical goals, financial goals. It's important to set goals for ourselves in all of those areas of our life that make us up as a human being, because we are a multiplex individual. We are multiplex beings. There's not just one part to us. And oftentimes, when we become broken or cracked or damaged, it is because there is a part of our being that has gone unattended.
Mm.
For example, I believe I heard someone in our audience tonight say that they deal with issues of abandonment. And so when I hear people say that they deal
Yes.
with issues of abandonment, and first and foremost, let me say I respect the individual that was courageous enough to put that out there in front of us, and you're in a safe space. So thank you for sharing that. But when I hear individuals say that they deal with things like abandonment, what that tells me is that there was some area in your life that was unattended. We study in psychology something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it actually looks like a
Mhm.
pyramid. And there are certain needs or things that people need that start at the very bottom of that pyramid. And as you go up to the very top of the pyramid, it is our hope that as human beings that we reach something called self-actualization. And so, as a child, as a teenager, if you don't get certain needs met, for example, if unfortunately you were raised by a parent who was neglectful of your physical needs, food and shelter, uh, medical attention, then you're going to feel abandoned in that particular area. So, understanding that we are multiplex individuals, and I certainly love that about us, because if I may add, the Bible tells us that we were made in the image of God. And
Amen.
because we were made in the image of God,
Mhm.
God Himself is a multi diverse being. God's just not one thing. God is many things and all things. And the beauty about God, though, is that God is all those things all at the same time. And to all of us sitting here on this panel, He can be one thing to me, one thing to Rachel, one thing to Tony, and so on and so on. So He is a multiverse being, and we were made in His image so that we have different sides and different parts to ourselves as well. Okay, Tony is just not an author, but Tony is a father. He's a brother. He's a speaker. He's a human being. He's a man. And so, if I would leave anything with us tonight, that we have to understand that God God wants us to be whole. And I think that my sister Bobby could probably speak on that really good because that's her lane right there. But we are whole human beings. God wants us to be whole. So, in order for us to be whole and to get those cracks repaired, we have to start identifying what area of my life are there. Where are the cracks? Where, first of all, are the cracks? Maybe you can't see the cracks because you've been living with them so long. So now you think what is abnormal has now become, but
Yes.
really it's abnormal. Because sometimes we can take things that are abnormal and we can start to make it normal because we don't want to confront our pain. Okay, we're not,
Yes.
but your family knows that there's some cracks. Your son, your daughter knows that there's some cracks. Your friend knows that there's some cracks. And sometimes we're afraid to let those people come in our lives and say, "Hey, sis, I've been seeing some things right there. But I hadn't said anything." And that's another thing, especially in our community, we got to stop being afraid to talk about things. And so this is why
That's right.
this is a good environment because now we are taking the steps and having the courage to go ahead and to talk about things. Because if you really want to heal, let me tell you something about really wanting to heal. Um, when you really want to heal, you're going to go ahead on and disclose. You're going to do whatever it is to be a better person, to be a whole
Yes.
person. So
Yes.
give yourself permission to say, I
Mhm.
want to be a whole person, but there are areas of my life that has gone unattended. And sometimes it's not a mother or a father that has abandoned you. Sometimes we are abandoning ourselves.
Amen.
Yes.
We
Amen.
walked off on
Yes.
our own self. I would say to you tonight, walk back to yourself. Yourself is calling for you to come home. Walk
Yes.
back
Oh
to
my gosh.
yourself.
Yes.
Go home to you, not necessarily to somebody. You're looking for somebody else to come home to you. Go home to you and to find you.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Wow,
That's
That's
that was
what
good.
you wrote,
powerful.
Lily.
That was powerful. Thank
That's
you,
very
Dr.
powerful.
Stevens. I hope you caught what she just said.
That's good.
Your goals are more
Yes.
than just boxes to check, they're seeds. And healing doesn't just show up in big milestones, it shows up in the quiet ones. So if your goal is peace, presence, or letting go, honor that. If your progress looks like resting more, forgiving slowly, or writing one honest journal entry, celebrate that. This is a journey of becoming, not performing. So hold tight onto the goals you've set. Revisit them often and remember you're allowed to change them as you grow because growth isn't linear and healing doesn't have a deadline. So let everything breathe. To rise when I'm ready. Every step I take, no matter how small, is still forward. I will be kind to myself. I will honor my truth. And I will not give up on becoming whole. So say it with me. I am not easily broken. Easily. Dr. Stevens, do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom you'd like to share with both our panelists and those tuning in?
Well, because I know that we're at the end of our time, I just want to tell everybody that's listening tonight in our audience and tell all of our panelists, give yourself permission and fill in the blank, whatever that is. Give yourself permission for whatever it is and fill in the blank for yourself. Give yourself grace, give yourself permission to love you in whatever area it is that you need to love yourself in. Give yourself permission to heal, and give yourself permission to be a whole human being. So I'd like to leave that with everyone tonight. Give yourself permission. I also
Thank
like to
you.
say, if there's anybody who is listening on tonight, or anybody in the panel, if you want to reach out to me, if you feel that you need that objective person to talk to, I think that my information is up on the screen. If not, we can certainly get it to you. You are more than welcome to knock on my door, and let's have that conversation. And best of all, let's take that journey together.
Well, there you go. There she told you. Until next time, family, keep showing up, keep doing the work, and never forget, you are not alone on this journey. We'll be right back here together